Welcome to Tier 1 Jank. I am Marcus, and we are back after a long hiatus, and I apologize for that, but we do have a new computer set up, and we will be back to giving you deck techs and streaming gameplay and everything else. Um, this will be our first video back since we got the new computer. It seems that everything has been running smoothly as far as the gameplay, which was our main problem with the laptop we were using, which is why we had to upgrade to this new computer. The audio isn't quite up to what I want it to be, so I do apologize for that. The next thing we'll be getting is a new microphone, and hopefully we'll have that soon for you guys, so the audio will improve. So I apologize if I'm not quite as loud as you would like right now. But today, I'm going to be giving you a deck tech, and this deck is centered around some new cards in the War of the Spark set. It is an amass deck, and it has helped me get the last leg of the way to the Mythic rank on Arena before the uh, season ended yesterday. So let's get to that. Here's the deck. We'll go over it card by card. I want to show you the amass cards first. uh, I think maybe the most important amass card in the deck is the Widespread Brutality. That is our sweeper for the deck. Now this is 2 red, a black, and a colorless, and you'll amass 2, and then the army you amassed deals damage equal to its power to each non-army creature. So if they do happen to have an army on the board, it's not going to deal damage to that, but most of the time your army will be larger than theirs, so you'll be left with a bigger creature on the board. Um, Now notice you amass 2, so if you already have an army on the board, it's going to add the 2 power to that army, and then it's going to deal damage to each creature. So if you have, say, a 4 power army on the board, it's going to go to 6 and then deal 6 damage to each non-army creature on the board. And this is very important. It can be a very powerful sweeper early in the game against aggro decks, or even later in the game against mid-range decks that have larger creatures. If you have a large enough army out, you can take out pretty much anything that doesn't have indestructible or something like that. Okay, next up we have Commence the Endgame. Now this is a late game, often finishing card. It can't be countered. You draw 2 cards, and then you amass X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. So most often you're going to be playing this on your opponent's end step. You're going to draw 2 cards, and then however many cards you have in your hand after that, you're going to add that to your existing army or amass a new army with that many counters on it, which can often be devastating to your opponent, especially since they won't usually see it coming. Then you'll untap. If you don't have an army already, you'll untap with a new body on the board that can attack. And if you do, then it's going to be much larger than they anticipated. That leads me to Dreadhorde Invasion. Now, getting your creatures higher up than your opponent anticipated comes in handy with this card, which a lot of people will compare with Bitter Blossom. It's not quite the same. At the beginning of your upkeep, you will lose life and amass 1. So the first time, if you don't have an army, you'll make 1. And then you'll add a counter to your army every turn. That's good for building a large army, or if you're playing against a deck with a lot of removal, where they keep getting rid of your army, well, you're going to keep getting a new one every turn, and they're eventually going to run out of removal, where you're not going to run out of bodies with this card. It does have the downside that you'll lose the 1 life every turn, But if you're able to get one of your armies up to power 6 or greater and attack with it, you'll gain a lifelink on a turn. And that can make a huge difference, getting you back ahead of the game. And I just want to mention that there is a little thing that goes along with this and widespread brutality. If you attack with a army of 6 power or more, trigger your Dreadhorde invasion, and then play the widespread brutality on your second main phase, that army is going to have the lifelink still and deal, when it deals damage to each non-army creature, you're going to gain life for each one it hits, since it has the lifelink. So that can be a huge amount of life, depending on how many creatures are on the board and how large your army is. Next up, we have Lazotep Plating. Now, I think this is one of the best cards to come out of War of the Spark. This shuts down so many things. It shuts down Banefire. It shuts down all spot removal. It shuts down Thought Erasure. As long as you're on the play and you have this, you get Thought Erasure turn 2, and it fizzles because you have Hexproof, and then you have a body on the board. It can just put a body on the board if you absolutely need one, or make it 1 power greater as a combat trick. It just has so many applications, and not even a mass deck even, but in this mass deck it's even that much more powerful. And the applications for it go on and on. I can't even take the time to list them all here, but it is, if not the best card, one of the best cards to come out of this set, and I don't think people realize how good it is. As far as other amass cards, we have Honor the God Pharaoh. This is kind of similar to like Pirate's Pillage, where we're going to discard a card, draw 2, and get something out of it. In this case, it's a mass 1, and the cost is a little cheaper at 3, but that works along with the theme of the deck, and it helps us draw cards. Next up, we have Gleaming Overseer. This is an important card to the deck. It is a zombie wizard. It enters the battlefield, amasses 1, and zombie tokens that you control have hexproof and menace. So it makes your army have hexproof, which is important against spot removal. And it also has menace. So if you keep them down to 1 creature, they're not going to be able to block your army. I did have this as 4 copies in the deck, but I wanted to try out 1 copy of Dreadhorde Twins. This is a 2/2. When it comes in, it amasses 2, and zombie tokens you control have trample. So if you have a large army, they're going to be able to chump block you if you have the trample. So I kind of wanted to see how that would work out. I haven't really played with it too much yet. We also have Angrath, Captain of Chaos. Now he gives all your creatures menace, and he can menace 2 to amass 2. So that, again, is just another way to amass. It's a planeswalker rather than a creature spell or instant or sorcery, and gives all your creatures menace, not just the armies. And it's also another way to play a spell that's going to pump your army up to when your opponent might not be expecting it. If you have, say, a Dreadhorde invasion down, on your opponent's turn, if your army's at 3, the Dreadhorde puts it up to, or the invasion puts it up to 4 on your turn, and then you amass with an Angrath while you're swinging in for 6 and gaining 6. So there's a lot of plays that end up happening like that. I think that is all of the amass cards in the deck. To round it out, we do need a few other key cards. We have a Soul Diviner, it's a 4 of. It is a zombie wizard, one blue and one black. It's a 2/3, and you can tap it to remove a counter from an artifact, creature, land, or planeswalker you control to draw a card. This is very important because you can take counters off your armies to draw a card. You can take counters off of your planeswalkers to draw cards, and there'll be oftentimes where they are going to die anyway, and you can just get a free card draw off of Soul Diviner. And that's not to mention the fact that it's just a 2/3 for 2 on top of that. So this card is just great in this deck. We have Blink of an Eye, which I think is a necessity just to have a blink spell in the deck. It's also a draw spell if you pay the kicker. There is a blink spell that isn't a mask one, but it is a sorcery speed, and I just don't like it as much as blink. I don't think it's worth having the amass over Blink of an Eye. Next up, we have Stealth Mission, another very important card. There'll be times in the deck where you just have a board state that you're not going to be able to get through, and this will let you be able to get through with hopefully a large army that possibly has lifelink from Dreadhorde Invasion. And oftentimes you'll just be finishing out the game by putting a stealth mission on an army that your opponent thought they were going to be able to block. Next up, we have 2 copies of Bedevil, destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker, and 2 copies of Vraska's Contempt, exile target creature or planeswalker, gain 2 life. These are just necessary removal spells against problem creatures and planeswalkers that we're not going to be able to take care of with our widespread brutalities. And other than that, we have 2 copies of Nicol Bolas, Dragon God. And this is just kind of my fun card in the deck. We're in the colors I can play it, and if it gets to the late game, there have been times where I've just won the game with Nicol Bolas. So, yeah, he's in there. That is the deck. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think about it down in the comments. I will be putting in some gameplay with it on the stream. We will be streaming now that we have the new hardware. I did do a test run for a stream, and it seemed to be working just fine. We were having some lag issues with the old laptop, but this new computer seems to be able to handle it just fine. We did get to Mythic like before the season ending. I'm not sure if I mentioned that on this video. And I think one of the things I'm going to do in the future is just maybe do regular streams of the grind back to Mythic. So I'll probably be using a combination of this deck and my Raw combo deck, which will probably be the next deck tech video you'll see. So again, let me know what you thought down in the comments. Like the video, please. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you really want to show me some love, check out our Patreon. We have a link on our banner. Thank you all.